Hey everybody, how are you today? Thank you for joining our live stream. I am Evan over here at Smartly Uneducated. I am joined with my co-host Ben, who is occupied at the moment. We'll get over to him in just a second. Hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday morning. I know we are over here today. We're going to be talking about a few things that are very interesting going on in our world, implicating potentiality of World War III and how close we might actually be. There are a few things that stand out to us in this concept, but don't get too worried too fast. I don't think that we're on the brink of it or anything. It's just a casual topic about what might happen if and when we do get into it. Again, welcome to our stream. If you're joining us today for the first time, we are Smartly Uneducated. We delve into the intrinsic history of our world and the potentiality of our history, forecoming and past. So, without further ado, here's our buddy Ben. I believe he's ready to go. No, he's not. He says, he shakes his head.
I'm not ready
vehemently.
I was going to let you kick the lead off. I'm still waiting for this thing to load in front of me.
Gotcha, right on.
That's
Absolutely.
all. But I'll turn time back over
So
to you.
this concept sort of started whenever they released the brand new sort of automatic draft into our world. Recently, they passed a new bill in 2024. It is referred to as the Service Member Quality of Life Improvements in National Defense Authorization. It is a very long title that pretty much says if you turn 18 in America and you are a male at 18 to 25 years old, you are immediately drafted into the armed forces. Now, I may have said drafted, but you are not literally going into the service. You will be automatically registered to be put into the draft if they instate one, instead of you voluntarily or under felony prosecution be put into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You are still going to be under prosecution if you do not attend the draft, though. If they call for it and you do not go, you are still going to be put under a federal felony offense, which is horrible, and up to a $250,000 fine, which is quite a lot. But before we delve too far into this, if you are viewing us and you're hearing the sound of our voice, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, yell at us, tell us you hate us, tell us you love us, whatever.
Also, just
it helps.
Well, my stuff's still loading, but just comment away, like join the conversation.
Yeah, say what's up.
We're trying to pay attention to it, and we got our feed over here up to where we can actually see live comments and things of that nature. There'd probably be a slight delay because it is live, but yeah, just throw in what your thoughts are, on current standings. I mean, we'll talk it out. I mean, it's not like we're experts on things. We're just some average people who are just trying to pay attention, and do the best we can. So, it's good to stay relevant with everything that's going on currently, because could have serious implications on everyone. Well, I mean, everyone's already dealing with crap right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for things to potentially even get far worse, the rest is history on that, right?
Yeah, if you're hearing this after it is live, like a lot of you will be hearing it, you can always send us an email over at smartlyuneducated@gmail.com. We will read it, and it is a real email. That is smartlyuneducated@gmail.com. We will read it on the show if it is interesting, which I'm sure it will be. So, yeah, I mean, not much else to say at the top of the show. Bunch of news articles talking about the UN preparing for mass casualty events. They are doing drills in different hospitals around the world based around nuclear explosions and nuclear fallouts with massive casualties. They're estimating up to 100,000 for mass casualty exercises.
Hey,
and
just
more.
To add, another thing that's happening close to home right now here in America.
Looks like Ben's ready.
I just want to add, because you said something important. This needs to be said. So basically, so like this morning, currently, right now, where we live, 911 services are down.
Yeah, they are.
And that has been going on now for like 2 weeks, on and off, in different parts of the country, where 911 services are being taken down, and they're sending texts out to people's phone through their service provider saying like, hey, it's currently down right now, blah, blah, blah. Like if you need assistance, emergency assistance, call this number. and it's like a different
It's a 10-digit number
yeah,
instead of the
it's like
3-digit 911.
yeah, exactly. And so that right there with and then with all the tensions going on, it some people say, "Oh, it's maintenance." I don't believe it is. I think that it's really more of from what I'm seeing, it sounds and seems more like it's a not a test run, but more of like, "Hey, we're going to take the services down and test on our side, how do we get them back up again if they go down?" And that's what it seems like. And with the growing tensions, and then there has been moments around the world. I don't know if people have been paying attention over in the Middle East area. There has been where everyone's pagers and phones exploded.
Yeah, that's pretty big news in the
Yeah,
world.
that's called remote. The technology needed to cause every single phone to explode on people. Well, that technology exists. We already know it does.
Well,
the military has that.
That's delving into a different.
Oh, I know. I'm
topic
making the point
because
though.
they
If that shit goes
they
down,
talked about
it's a
how
big
they
deal.
found traces of the shipping being taken from the Chinese ships by the Israeli and Lebanese CIA. I can't remember which one it was, and then changing out the batteries on it for lithium bombs.
Yeah.
To then be sent back out into the war zone to be passed around to the Hezbollah.
True, but it happened to people who were not soldiers.
Oh, of course. Anybody who received one of these 5,000 pagers happened to blow up.
It was also cell phones too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was also solar panels and microwaves. Yeah.
There's the technology's out there though that caused this.
It makes me worry about my smartphones, my Apple phone. Will that just blow up during a warfare zone?
Yeah, I will say this, and this is going to sound really conspiracy-ish, is that if you, like, everyone has a smartphone on them. Anyone listening right now, if someone has a smartphone, you have to remember there is a way they can literally trigger your phone right now to where it changes the signal that's coming off it, utilizing the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capabilities.
Yep.
Which then they push it up to a particular frequency, which then would cause, like, headaches, nausea, the works. That's all built into our phones, and that's not a joke. Like, that's actually very real. You can manipulate those signals to put off different frequency. So just remember, with all the cyber attacks that have been happening over the past year, and especially in the past 6 months, that is something that could happen with our phones.
Do you think a Faraday cage would stop the explosion and the EMF?
It wouldn't be able to connect to it.
Exactly, right?
It would be completely cut off.
So that explains why everyone is sort of talking about EMF, anti-EMF devices to be wearing. They sell beanies that are anti-EMF. They sell headphones that are anti-EMF. They sell bracelets that produce anti-EMF signals. So the rise of this sort of technology is going to make another market to stop a signal being put through, which I think is badass. Nothing more anarchy than taking down what the government has put up, and I'm a big fan of that personally.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the anarchist in me gets horny for that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And the only reason I brought up the phone thing is just because that is actually something that has been written down and been discussed behind closed doors, and then it got leaked. And then people did talk about it for a minute, but no major media outlet talked about it. It was all private media sources, such as podcasts to like private journalists, things of that nature, where they talked about how if one of the risks that we have under a cyber attack, if there was like an attack done on the United States in general, was with our smartphones for changing for amping up those different frequency signals off the phone. And it's scary because you can actually find these types of the malicious malware and things of that nature that you could get infected into a phone. You actually could get your hands on it yourself. It's online.
Damn.
And that's the scary part. And I'm no joke. That it's literally online. It's you can download it for free. There's nothing stopping you. And I'm not talking about the dark web or anything of that nature. This is on the public servers.
It's on GitHub.com.
GitHub's one place. At one point in time, I saw roughly, it was almost a year ago, I saw where they had it split between 2 different locations in GitHub. So you had to download one part of it here, one part over here. They didn't just put it under one thing because they didn't want it to get taken down. Because that would get taken down because it's giving you, it's passing out malicious,
terroristic sort of
yeah,
devices.
capability. So, but it's wild. It's out there, and you can get your hands on it, and that's scary as shit if you know what you're doing.
Yep.
You know.
Well, that brings me
yeah.
to DARPA's initiative that they created back in 1970 called the Assault Breaker. I don't know if you know what that is or not, but it's a concept developed by DARPA, which goal was to stop large armies or attacking quickly and overwhelming forces. So they can use that in multiple directions, right? It's just a sort of warfare tactic where they preemptively attempt to stop things, such as malicious software that's available to the public to be put out to their own uses.
Yeah, did you want to talk about that right now, or did you want to come back to that in a little bit?
Yeah, we might as well talk about it. It was implicated during the Cold War when NATO was worried about a big invasion from the Soviet Union. They would send the infantry, and then DARPA would then begin to send a counterattack of this so-called assault breaker. Which back in the day, the worry was the war would broke out in Europe. The Soviet Union would send massive waves of tanks and troops across the land, especially in Germany. The traditional way of stopping this would be to send soldiers and tanks to fight them, but that might not have been fast enough. So DARPA's job is to come up with a new, innovative military idea.
Yeah, I've got some stuff on it.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, so can I jump in real
Please,
quick?
go ahead, yeah.
All right, so the Assault Breaker, the Assault Breaker 2, sorry, it's the Assault Breaker 2. So it at its core, Assault Breaker 2 basically leverages advanced sensors, AI, and missile technology, basically into one system. And what it does is it can detect and track enemy forces in real time. And then it can launch precision-guided munitions from extremely long distances, and then deliver overwhelming firepower, basically concentrated firepower to destroy or incapacitate.
You're having a hard time talking today.
Yeah, I am, man. Incapacitate enemy forces before they can engage in combat. And some of the key features of the Assault Breaker 2, like I said before, is the multi-sensor targeting system.
Yep.
Which it's a whole network of sensors.
The eyes in the sky, right?
Yep, such as
UAVs.
radar, infrared, satellite imaging, that they would use to detect these things. And then these sensors are designed to function in contested environments. Basically, they can continue to keep targeting data even in the face of electronic warfare attempts. So if someone tried to do like an EMF, things like that, it would not stop this.
EMF?
Or EMP.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Yeah.
I said EMF. EMP. Sorry, I was watching Supernatural last night, so don't judge me. EMP, it can still function. It's basically EMP retarded, against it. So it I know that sounded like I said the R word.
You did say it, but in a sense, yeah. I mean,
retardant.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I didn't say with an ed on the end.
I wish you would have.
Retarded.
But in a nutshell, it was about using advanced technology to detect enemy forces and then stopping them in their tracks.
I've got a whole fun.
There's a whole bunch, right?
I have a whole bunch of detail.
Yeah,
on the Assault
brother.
Breaker too.
Think of it like having an invisible shield that sees the bad guys coming, and then you just throw a bunch of rocks at them from far away so they don't get too close to do any more damage.
Get out of here! Rocks that explode, by the way.
Big ass bomb rocks. It's King Kong throwing boulders, baby.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that if you, other than the sensor, all that fun stuff, so you got the long range precision strike, dude. It's got the programs that it has inside of it are so intricate and so well put together that these basically the long range targeting system is borderline flawless. Like it's the fact that it has the durability and the capability, but then you add on top of that the fact that it is it's so precise. Like this thing is wildly advanced.
It's badass.
From everything I've read about it, it puts everything else to bed.
Makes me makes me feel a little bit better that a sort of a repercussion for someone's actions in a malicious attempt to destabilize a population would be thwarted almost immediately due to this technology. It is one of the best things DARPA has created in a sense of warfare, defensive strategy, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very cool, very, very useful. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, and
DARPA usually makes some fucked up shit that I don't like, but this one's
I
good.
know, right? But hey, the other one of the other thing that was added into this is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And if you're unfamiliar of what like machine learning is, and you know, when you say the term artificial intelligence, people go, "Oh, it's like Terminator crap," or it's like something that thinks on its own. There are different forms of artificial intelligence that we have at our disposal, and the fact that it's artificial intelligence that's been procured from DARPA themselves, which they are wildly ahead of the game than anybody else. Basically, the central role of the AI and like the that it plays with the Assault Breaker 2, basically it can process, and it's all catered artificial intelligence. So this is what I would call it a narrow AI, but it being a narrow AI, it has been funneled down into a specific set of tasks, but it's a very robust set of tasks. So, and then you couple in its capability of machine learning while doing its tasks in live time. So it actually corrects itself, but it's being stuck into one point of view. It's not like the artificial intelligence that's integrated into it is being like, it's not ChatGPT.
It's a pinpoint sort of AI.
Yeah, it's a very pinpointed, but it's very robust, and it's for one set of tasks inside this unit. So the machine learning that's coupled with it is phenomenal. Like phenomenal. Like in live time, it not just processes vast amounts of like just data that comes in there from its sensors, it will make decisions based off that data in real time. And then it also adjusts. If it like misinterpreted data, it has self-checks in itself and goes, nope, this isn't right. We're going to correct it. We're going to change all of these attributes and logic functions before we launch the next attack. And it does it within milliseconds. So something that would take you and I, like if it was a human person,
10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yeah, to fix it, it does it in milliseconds.
That's kind of fucking, that's kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
What if it makes the wrong decision in that millisecond?
I don't know.
What's the ethical complications behind that, right? What if AI no longer sees us as a value, which it probably already doesn't, right? But
well, that goes into being a different form of AI that's no longer narrow.
That's AGI, right? That's
they kept it as a narrow. I mean, at least that's what they say.
That's how they put it out there, right? It could easily be like, oh, that's a U.S. tank with 5 of our people in there, but there's 100 troops outside of it. I'm just gonna drop a WBA big ass bomb on there and sacrifice the 5 U.S. soldiers to destroy these 100 other.
Or it
soldiers.
Calculates in saying like, hey, I can drop this particular payload on these particular targets using this type of munitions and not hurt the Humvee that has 5 soldiers in it because it knows the blast radius. It can calculate the exact distance of the shockwave of what the blast radius would be.
That's awesome.
All of that.
Yeah.
That's the part that's just so wild.
Or just shoots a blue beam
wild.
laser down and melts everybody.
Yeah. Watch out, SR-72. Oh, it's gone. Yeah. If anyone doesn't know about SR-72, it is a stealth, I guess it would be a stealth fighter.
Yeah, it's a stealth fighter jet, yeah.
Yeah, it is so fast. It can go, I think it's 7,800 miles per hour. I think it's either 7,500 or 7,800 miles per hour is how fast it flies. And it puts the SR-71 to bed. The SR-72 is so fast that it has no any kind of systems put in place to, for defense because it moves so fast. No targeting system.
That's in kilometers, by the way. That's not miles per hour. So it's 7,350 kilometers per hour and 4,567 miles per hour.
Oh, shit. Either way.
That's
my
still...
bad. It's wildly fast. Basically,
that's like Mach 6. That's Mach 6 at cruising
no, it
speed.
can go faster. It's that it can go much faster than that.
The cruising speed's Mach 6.
Yeah, that's just cruising. It's not even trying.
That's fast as fuck.
Yeah, it's not even trying. It actually can go significantly faster. But the thing is, they say that when it travels at about 80%, like I watched this whole thing on it. It was like 80% capability of speed. It can travel from here to Beijing in less than an hour. Less than an hour.
Yeah.
That's how fast it can get there. And
Thank
no
you, Lockheed
targeting
Martin.
system can lock in on it. So that's why they have no defense on it, because Nothing can target it. It's too fast.
It's also usually going to be in low gravity atmosphere. It's going to be really like on the precipice of space too.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, just to move on from the Assault Breaker 2, I know we were talking about that before I brought up SR 72, but the Assault Breaker, we were talking about the artificial intelligence involved in it. One of the other things, so the machine learning algorithms. So not only it allows the system to basically recognize patterns of enemy like behavior, movement. It predicts their movement too, based off of what it was seeing before.
That's
And it
scary.
takes it all in, and then it adjusts all the targeting strategies accordingly to what it's taking in and what it's seeing and what it can predict. And apparently, it's so accurate that it's almost never wrong. Like I'm talking about, like so far the failure rate is basically 0%.
Yeah.
That's what was reported. Now, is that fluff numbers? Are they lying about it? Who knows? But from what I'm seeing about this, and I know it's coming from DARPA, I believe it can do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But another key component, and then I'll drop the whole. We can always move on and come back to it at a later time when it's more relevant about the Assault Breaker. But one of the other key components of the Assault Breaker is the use of autonomous drone swarms. Like, no joke, basically drones can be deployed as another aspect of its munitions if it wanted. It has a lot of resources. So it could deploy all these swarms of drones that would overwhelm basically enemy forces, conduct surveillance, and then also carry out like precision strikes themselves, like bombing drones,
Unless they're going to be using microwave weapons to just take down the drones.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about the drones. It's that they are basically, they've tested them in environments where EMPs have been deployed.
Mm-hmm.
Drones don't shut down.
No shit.
Yep. That's according to this thing here.
Damn.
Yeah, they did it for the entire system, and the drones are part of it. That's apparently what they're saying, at least.
That's
right
scary.
Here. That's insane to me. So it's like, oh no, we're getting drones like
Maybe
enemy people, and then they deploy an
and
EMP,
we're not
and it
saying
does nothing.
We're not saying like the cruise missile drones, right? This is like the small handheld plane,
Yeah, the
helicopter
drones.
Yeah, helicopter drones, right?
Yeah.
Not the ones that are dropping cruise missiles on Iran and Obama's using to blow up cities.
Yeah.
Those will probably be taken down by an EMP in the atmosphere because they're huge.
So get this. So it was developed for one of the main roles of the Assault Breaker was for countering anti-access and aerial denial areas. So like the A2AD. And that is both Russia and China have invested heavily in the A2AD systems.
Yeah.
Which are designed to prevent U.S. forces from operating freely in key strategic areas such as like South China, the South China Sea, or like the Baltic region. And then, basically these systems are used as a combination of long-range missiles, advanced radar, and electronic warfare to create zones where U.S. forces would face significant risks if they attempted to operate. Well, that's why the Assault Breaker 2 is made, because the Assault Breaker 2 can blast right through that. It doesn't stop it.
Damn.
So it's like, it's wild, dude. Because they're able. It's absolutely wild. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that sort of lightens the load of a potential World War III aspect, right? Although tensions are incredibly high right now between all nations. I know China has attempted it since 2012 to become the next superpower by making the United States its target to defeat, right? They have Xi Jinping stated whenever he became ruler that he's going to up his army so strongly that it's going to rival America's, which then America said, how dare you? we're going to be making crazy shit just to one up you. We're going to steal your thunder, which they then began to make new stealth aircrafts, new intercontinental ballistic missiles, which intercontinental is bizarre.
Yeah.
That's from like America to fucking middle of Russia. That's a long range missile. That is insane.
Yeah. It's absolutely
Not to
insane.
mention like the nuclear subs they have, which are some of the largest ones that they're inventing.
Yeah, they're also saying, I don't know if you heard about it on the I don't know how true it is, but there was an image showing one of China's nuclear subs,
Yeah.
and apparently it sank, supposedly.
Oh, really?
In the bay. Yeah, the bay that it was being worked on. But I don't know how accurate that is, because the only images that they've provided on that is it shows the sub being worked on, right? And then the next image is just gone.
Well,
And it's like, bitch, it's meant to be underwater.
yeah, I was gonna say it's working
You
really
sure?
well. It's
Like,
working really well.
yeah, like, are you sure that it just sank?
It's a submarine. It's underwater. That's,
Like-
that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, but it's like, but you know what I mean? Like, is it really just sank because
Oh,
something went
no.
wrong, or did it just go underwater and it's doing its job and it left?
Like, oh no, it's
You know?
sunk. Tell everybody that our submarine that's meant to live underwater for months has sunk. Oh no.
Oh no!
It's doing a really good job of being underwater.
Who would have thunk? Thunk to sunk? What? Who would have thinked it?
Who would
Let's sink it.
have thought it to think it out loud? So I need to give a shout out to my aunt real quick. To change subject. Apparently, every time we go live, it just automatically starts playing on her phone, and she and shout out, what's up? What's up? How are you? You're probably hearing the sound of my voice right now. Sorry.
Hey, Auntie. It's me, Evan.
No, that's Ben.
No, I'm a ventriloquist. You're a puppet.
Anyways, moving on. So World War III, the current tensions. Let's just talk about it. Like, let's jump right into that aspect, right? Obviously, there's rising tensions everywhere. You've got North Korea now, claiming that they're going to support Russia in any form of war effort, apparently. You've got Russia and Ukraine. There's been some. You brought up a good point earlier before we started doing this live broadcast about Ukrainian soldiers who had perished in battle, and just the way that the damage of them almost looks like there's chemical burns to some degree.
Well, I brought that up to you because America is one of the only countries, especially I think in NATO, that has agreed to not use chemical weapons. The war crimes is what America holds their standards to against other countries. Russia, China, all these other communist, if you will, countries don't hold standards of war crimes. So they will use freely whatever they want, biochemical, fucking disease warfare. They'll do anything. So some of the videos that you see coming out of the Ukraine-Russian war, if you are desensitized enough to watch the videos of the fallen soldiers, the bodies look mangled in a way that isn't necessarily explosive or bullets sometimes, which they could have just been. I don't want to get too gruesome, if you will, but yeah, it doesn't look above bar, it doesn't look kosher, it doesn't look right.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. And everything the thing is that, like, since we're not there, trying to make the best deductions from what we can see gets challenging, because we're not there, and the way it's being reported, you can't trust most of the media sources on it anyways.
And the amount of money that we sent over there drives me fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, no, it drives me nuts. It's like, what?
That's
a whole other.
That
can
may
of
be a
worms.
huge right-wing viewpoint. Why are we sending money to a foreign country that we're not supposed to be fighting in, when our own country is falling apart due to hyperinflation and drugs and border and immigrants and all these things? But
there's so many issues going on here.
why
It
are
makes no
we
sense.
shoving $52 billion to another country? That is an absurd amount of money.
Is that what the total's at right now?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't know what the grand total was.
It's not necessarily in cash value, but it's in assets and cash value.
Oh, okay. So a total combined of every
Yeah.
kind of monetary value that exists that we've provided
Correct.
is at over 50 bill
Yeah.
at this time. That it's just
It's ignorant. It's not the right thing to be doing.
no. When things like that happen and that's being moved, like, I understand that like how you hit the nail on the head right there. How you were saying, like, that probably comes across as a conservative value, which, yeah, I'm sure the typical person would probably think that. But I know plenty of friends of mine who are Democrats and who aren't right-wing people, and they agree with that too. They're like, no, we need to be helping our own people. Like, people are suffering here, and the American people are getting put as at last on the bottom of the totem pole, like as if a priority. And that's the problem. Like with with any country, the citizens should come first. I'm sorry to say that about anyone who's got family in UK and things like that, or Ukraine. No offense, but they live there. That's their issue. Like, we have our own people here we should be taking care of.
Yeah.
And, especially like, you can open up so many different cans of worms with that. You could open up our veterans, like taking better care of our people who literally sacrifice chunks of their lives, and then not even just chunks of their lives serving in the military. We're also talking about people who lost parts of themselves by being in the military. Everything from psychological and mental health, aspect, all the way to physicality, where they lost limbs, they got mortally, permanently handicapped from things they went through on a physical side of things. And it's just like the support for veterans is so atrociously bad here. And it's like, why if you had that 50 bill and they all talk about how, there's, we have to appropriate money and all this stuff. It's like, well, you had no problem sending billions of dollars overseas.
Right.
What? WTF? I'm trying not to cuss right now.
I appreciate that.
WTF? I'm trying to do my best
What the
not
frick?
to. What? Shut the front door.
You lint licker.
Mother truckers, dude. God, I feel like a douche when I talk. Like, I try to do that. I feel like I'm like, I'm back at school, and then all of a sudden I run to those homeschool kids, and they're just like, kiss off, bro. What? Just tell me to F off like a normal human being. What's wrong with you? Like, that's my 6th grade self coming out there. It's like when I would hear like mother trucker. It's like, the trucker's got a mother?
I used to use, as a young man, I used to use the word eggs as a curse word.
Eggs, dude. Dude, that's some rotten eggs right there.
I egg you.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I love it. I love it. You know what?
A lot of you have never seen me without a hat on before.
That was so random.
I just saw myself in the monitor. So
You look fly as hell.
This is a hatless Evan for
I
y'all.
want everyone, if anyone's listening right now, please post a comment and talk about how good,
shiny
how
my head
shiny-
is.
No, you're a stud, bro. Look at this stud right here. He's got a good fade going on. Look at that. Ooh, yes. Oh yeah,
we're playing around.
Oh, yeah.
We have a good time here, right? Hey Ben, we're having a good show.
Dude,
Ben, we're having a good show.
you made the Kool-Aid Man say his catchphrase.
We're
Oh, yeah.
having a good show, Ben. Can we continue having a good show here, bud?
Dude, we're having the best show.
You better watch out. Alex Jones gonna send over the motherfucking spider goats, dude. Oh no, dude. The spider goats are real underground, brother, being born, and goat bladders and uteruses underground underneath DARPA's laboratories, brother. You
Dude,
better watch
if that's
out.
Alex Jones, Hulk Hogan's probably like really upset right now. Like, who's doing my voice? Turn the freaking frog's gay.
I mean, he wasn't wrong on that one.
No, he ended up not being wrong on that one. All right, let's get back.
But
to,
yeah, so
total
the tensions
sadness.
are really high and total sadness.
Total sadness, right?
Tensions are high in the global atmosphere of our entire Earth, right? You have the Russia-Ukrainian war. You have China and Taiwan, who are at wits' end, who are ready to fight each other at any drop of the dime. China's ready to bomb the shit out of Taiwan, saying, "You are our country. How dare you become somebody else?" And then you have North Korea on the edge, trying to issue warnings and potential nuclear war, blaming the U.S. for everything, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, the U.S. isn't perfect. We're not.
No,
we're not.
We're just as problematic.
We're not a
and-
shining sample of civilization and beauty. We are definitely the empire of the world.
in some ways, yes.
Well, I mean, if we have hyperinflation and our money is devalued, a lot of other countries' money becomes irrelevant because of it. Like,
Yeah, no one talks about that either.
so our money so there are a lot of things that implicate and sort of aim toward a World War III scenario. One of the major factors in the economic world, which usually indicts a
Hey,
war.
I know you're getting onto the economy side. I have a whole thing on that.
Me too.
But we have not finished the Russia and Ukraine aspect.
Very
'Cause
swag.
there
Very
are-
swag.
Well, there are key questions, and I don't mean to take it from you right now, but I have some key questions that I've written up, that I want to pose just to think about, because these are the things I ask myself after doing more in-depth research into it. So my first question that I ask out loud, and I don't have an answer to it. It's just more of the question,
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, and this has to do with NATO. It's like, okay, well, with NATO still, doing support for Ukraine, what aggressive response would be provoked from Russia, here in the near future? If that keeps continuing far more than it is now, how is that going to affect Russia's decision making, right? So that's one kind of question I've been asking, here. The second one is like, how will the domestic kind of pressures of Russia right now for them, sanctions, the economic turmoil they're in, and then obviously they have protests going on right over there. Yeah, they do.
Of course.
They got a lot of people trying to protest. How will that impact the global strategy of it all for them? So there's that aspect. And then, what could this conflict spark a larger confrontation between Russia and just Western nations in general? So involving more countries. So those are the three things that I've been asked, that I asked myself while, that
Researching
I went through
and
my
doing
head,
things.
digging into it. So it's like, those are the questions. I don't have answers for those, but
So
that's what
I
I'm wondering.
I don't have answers
know?
for the first two by any means. I'm not a historical war expert or anything, but the third one, the escalation risk, is very, very real. Very, very real.
No, rear.
Very real.
Very rear.
America just test flew F-35As and landed in Poland's highways to see if it was possible, which is 100 miles from the Russian border, about 2 weeks ago. So they are testing. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're perhaps trying to do an intimidation factor of, hey, you should stay on your border and keep doing what you're doing over there. Don't you dare even consider going into Poland. And before the Ukrainian war, Russia started, Poland ordered 35 F-35s from America to be used in their military.
Mm-hmm.
So either people knew things that were going to happen, or they just happened to do it at the right time.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the latter. I think Putin has been talking about it and threatening it for a long time, and people were starting to get really scared. But the escalation risk is very real, especially if the war starts to push onto other borders just through basic conflict and combat. If they cross over, let's say, into Poland, or they cross over into Germany, or any of the bordering countries surrounding it, now they are going to be implicated in the war.
Yeah.
Especially if their jets fly over that country or rockets fly over that country, that puts them at edge to then want to be fighting back or putting up their walls, quote unquote, metaphorical walls of soldiers in combat. The escalation risk is very serious.
And I want to take a second real quick to kind of give a little disclosure about what we're talking about anyways, like the information and all that, jargon. So basically, we try to do our best to get research, but something everyone needs to keep in mind is the fact that when you research these things, there is so much propaganda out there that's skewing the reality of what's happening overseas. Even just doing my research, I kept finding lots of contradictions in reports.
Me too.
And it's like, okay, what's really going on then? So this is everything I've said so far, just talking about Russia. This is why I didn't get finite detail of this happened. It's because I'm seeing too many contradictory reports of things that it's like, okay, what's the truth? I'm not going to say that, oh, they did this, this is what's happening for a fact, because I can't. I'm purely going off of what I can see that's not contradicting each other, and that, okay, that's more than likely, that's a true narrative, this is a true narrative. But getting into the finite and fleshing out the details on that gets really complicated.
Not to mention
especially the media reports that are going
I mean,
out.
not-
You know,
dude,
like
not-
here in America.
not to mention that they
you know.
probably wouldn't want to give us all the details anyway. There's
Yeah.
no way that they'd be like, our strategical plan is to do this.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no way they would do that. That would completely bolster their fight and ruin their attack procedures, if you will.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really muddled, but I just wanted to give that kind of disclosure.
it's already been a
about it.
2-year war almost, dude. This is a long war that they're having in Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But it's just, I just really wanted to give that disclosure.
World War II was 4 years. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Without a doubt. So it's something to keep in mind, but I'm just saying, I wanted to make sure to say it out loud since we're doing a live thing about it. You know, there's a lot of contradicting information out there when you try to dig into this stuff.
Yeah.
Mainly because every single side's putting out their own form of media of what's going on, and they want it to be portrayed in a certain light to make this person look better or this entity look better, whatever. So digging into this gets really convoluted because I don't trust anything the mainstream media says here in America about it, because I already found a whole bunch of stuff they were lying about when it came to the Russian-Ukraine setup. And then also same with over there, things that are being reported overseas. I found a lot of things that were contradicting each other within their own bubble. So
Yeah.
it's just like, all right, so much lying is going on, and so much propaganda from every single side. It muddles the water, man. It makes it all murky. It makes it so hard for people like us to really see what's truly going on. And it gets complicated. And it's like, oh, well, you know, you could talk to someone, they're going to say, oh, well, there's live video from Ukraine soldiers on their phones and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but they already proved that half of those have been AI generated. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can run them through those AI. It's like an
Filters?
analyzer,
Yeah.
and it literally will analyze the footage and go, yep, literally almost half of them are coming out to being 100% authentic AI created videos.
That's scary.
So it's like, all right, with that being said, how can you believe what you're seeing now? So it's just like, you have to remember, we are in the dark a lot. Every citizen everywhere is in the dark pretty damn heavily at this point. I'm trying not to cuss since we're live, but I don't know how else to say it without dropping at least a damn in there, because holy crap.
Damn.
Damn. You know? So anyways, I'll turn time back
No,
over
you
to
don't
you.
have to. You're fine.
I just threw it over to you anyways. There you go.
I mean, I think it's pretty well known that we're in the dark. I say they, right? It's obviously the powers that be, like BlackRock, Vanguard, the states group, our government. They want the civilians to be in the dark and want to support the idea of sending money overseas to support a war that we're not supposed to be involved with.
Like the fact that money was sent over, I have a theory on that.
Yeah, they want to put a McDonald's
No.
over there and a Hilton hotel. After the war's over, they want to put
Well, no.
democracy.
No, war is a business.
Of
We already
course.
know this at this
Of course.
point. Fact that America sent over billions of dollars, and then you bring in all the assets at the play, all that stuff, and it comes up to being overall worth about $50 billion of what we've sent over between cash value to
Missiles, tanks, weapons.
equipment value, the works. That sounds like more of an investment to me.
Yeah.
It really does, because they're going to end up getting a turnaround value on that, because they're wanting to make some changes over there. The Western hold
One
is.
world
So-
order, right?
Oh, phew, don't even bring that up right now. Before that's a whole other thing.
Well, that's a
You know.
implication of World War III. Like, what's the reason why they would want to have a mass casualty war to potentially destroy other civilizations?
Yeah.
Is so that one new group can take over, or they can change the powers of hand, right?
Yeah,
The
and
hands
I'm,
of power,
and
rather.
I'm not saying that I'm not wanting to talk about it because I'm like, oh, that's conspiracy talk. I'm not saying that.
Oh, brother, George
it's
H.W. Bush talked about
I know.
it.
There's already documents about it. I know that, but that's like a whole other can of worms to go into, and I have no problem digging into that more. But I just want to go through what we were outlined to go talk about.
That's fair,
Like
right on.
like I want to stay with like talking about what I was saying, because I was about to jump into the whole East Asia situation that couples with the Russian-Ukraine tensions, and then the tensions with NATO and all that stuff, because like Taiwan the Taiwan Strait represents one of the most volatile regions, right? Because with China asserting its claim over Taiwan and threatening to take over it by force, basically, Taiwan is backed unofficially by the U.S.
Yeah.
And its regional allies, like Japan and Australia, stands basically at kind of like a flashpoint for a broader conflict between the world's two largest economies, China and the United States.
It would literally draw us into combat with
And
them.
we already know that China is backing Russia. They're with each other.
The fear is by 2027 is when China would attack. Before 2027 is when China would attack Taiwan, which then immediately the U.S. would have to retaliate or join forces with Taiwan.
Yeah.
Because we're already supporting them. We're already sending money and just firepower. And I understand that we're supposed to be the world leader and world
Unofficially, at least that's what we're told.
Yeah,
that's what we were brought up to think.
The world police.
Team America.
America.
Yeah. I made sure not
We need to
cuss.
have a beep on the.
I know. I need to plumb in a little thing so whenever I decide to cuss, I can be like, I just put quacks in there. That's all I want. Quacks. But yeah, like
All we need to do is send Alex Jones over there with a tinfoil hat and some oven mitts so he doesn't clap too hard and wake the scary things. It's like,
Turn the freaking frogs gay.
You better watch out, you little Chinese men. We're gonna come over there and we're gonna get you.
As you can see, man, the turn the freaking frogs gay, and they're known to jump and kick with their legs.
I've got an army of spider goats, dude.
the sad part is as time goes on, obviously, sorry, you brought up Alex Jones. So as time goes on, it is irrefutable at this point that Alex Jones ends up being right about 98.9% of the time about the stuff he says. It's just the way he goes about it turns people off half the time. And then he gets so extravagant and so just over the top, which I relate with to an extent because I can get very passionate when I speak about things.
yeah.
But my goodness, sir. I understand why people are like, oh, he's a nutcase. It's the way he goes about it. But yeah, he was wrong about that one particular thing. Bad information, things like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, oh, pro Alex Jones over here. I'm not saying that. But, it's irrefutable because a good mass amount of things that he has talked about over the years ended up being real.
Yeah, I mean, they had-
100% real in the way he said it was happening. So it's like, oh.
the spider goat thing is really funny, but
Yeah, it is funny.
they mix spider milk with, oh my God, goat milk with spider silk, and it becomes bulletproof skin.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they apparently are genetically engineering a spider goat that its teats would just produce milk that is bulletproof.
Or it's just a spider, a spider-looking kind of goat,
And it's
all in one.
out of its ass, it sprays out.
Like armor.
Yeah,
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
that's the
It's
idea.
like 3D printing it out of its ass.
Or out of its teats.
Yeah, they with all the biohybrid animal program. It wouldn't surprise me if they've got a part cyborg, part organic, a spider goat over there, just like put in the calculations. We got to 3D print this, and it's like, oh, it's literally a half animal thing.
We genetically
Pooping out of
engineered the
butt.
goats so they produced a spider protein in their milk. We then purified that protein from the milk and spin it into fibers. One of the goals of producing this spider silk on a large scale was creating bulletproof vests, and I thought, why not bulletproof humans? Said Isidia from Netherlands. The bulletproof skin, she took the leftover skin from plastic surgery individuals and cultured cells from both of the dermis and epidermis with a scaffold and a synthetic spider silk. Then she took it into a forensics genomics consortium in Netherlands to test if the skin was bulletproof, and it stops 22s and 9mm.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's crazy, dude.
That is crazy. But I'm gonna move on from the spider goat thing. I'm gonna get back to the Asian thing I was talking about. So I already talked about like the Taiwan Strait, what it represents, that whole thing. So the South China Sea, right? So basically China's aggressive territorial claims in South China, the South China Sea, basically all it does is continue to provoke tensions with all the neighboring countries like Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia, right? So, that the area is pretty dang crucial for international trade routes.
Yeah.
And any disruption could literally impact on a huge scale global, have global economic consequences, because that is that's a huge trade route that affects everybody. So there's that aspect, and that plays into the economic side of things.
Which the economic downfall of the world doesn't really come up in conversation when World War III
Yeah.
is talked about.
And so I have more key questions that I've written down that play into the other key questions that I listed, which was, after researching this, it's like how will China's China's like ambitions over Taiwan, where it does affect the U.S.-China relations, but then you couple in how China's also showing support for Russia, right? And then it's like you bring that into play with the other tensions that are going on, because China doesn't like what we're doing over with Ukraine and all that stuff. And, that's creating a whole other cocktail of tensions, raising up even more. And then it's like, would any misstep or miscalculation in this region lead to kind of like a direct military conflict, between the U.S. and China, right? You couple all that in, and then what the last like little question that goes in my head is like, what role will other kind of like regional players play, like India, Japan, South Korea, in a potential conflict? What role are they going to play? Are they going to be with us still on our side of things with our kind of like contracts that we have in place, or are they going to be like a wild card? In a way, I think the real wild card is North Korea, in my opinion. But that's just because, their ongoing continuation of developing nuclear weapons, and trying to perfect them and make them more capable, where they have long range capability, true long range capability.
Yep.
And then like the inner, like kind of like ballistic missiles, where what countries they can hit with ballistic missiles, like in that inner kind of like a continental kind of concept, right? And then, and despite, we already know that there's been sanctions and diplomatic stuff that's happened with North Korea, but despite all of that, they're still continuing to test its military capabilities on that scale, and they intentionally do it in defiance of the United States and the United Nations. So with that being at play, and they've already, it's been publicized, and this I checked on multiple media sources across the world, and all of them are saying the same thing now at this point. So there's no like contradictory kind of stuff going on, where they have been meeting with Putin. That did happen. They are showing support. They vocalized it. They put out statements saying that they support Russia. So it's like, that's a wild card right there as well. And so it's like, more questions come to mind that play. And this is how I wrote it out, because I wanted questions that would, it's not that I wanted questions, it was more of, as I did research, I realized like, oh, well, now I'm asking these questions about this particular thing and how it interconnects with the Russia and Ukraine situation, and just building from there is basically where my brain is gone. So it's like, could could a situation that provoked like a provocation, right, from North Korea, such as like another missile test, nuclear detonation that they've done, and also the fact that they're openly talking and having like an ally type situation going on with Russia right now, will that really amp it up to push to a military conflict, with not just us, but South Korea? Because South Korea is on our side.
Yes, they are.
So, and they're right next door. So it's like, and they already got beef with each other. So it's like, bring in like South Korea into Japan and of course us. So it's just like, and I'm sure there's a couple other countries in there, but that's one of the things. It's like, what's going to happen with that, And then the other part will be like kind of like the shifting of dynamics between, China, U.S., Russia, and North Korea. How is that going to play out on the world stage? Overall, total. So these are just questions that keep building up on each other in my head, between everything I keep researching of current status of things, and I have no answers. Just because I don't know. I'm just an average person.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just trying to be informed, but while doing so, it's like, dude, I got some questions.
What are the questions?
You know, I just laid them out.
You got any more?
No, that was pretty much that's as far as I've gotten with
So
where we are.
if escalations were to keep going in China and Taiwan and Russia, Ukraine, and fucking Israel, oh yeah, I cursed.
You
Whoops.
cursed. Way to go, dude.
Who would join what force? Right. The question is, who would join what force? Is
I don't know. That kind of goes into my shifting power dynamics.
my mind too.
You know,
And is North Korea going to join the Axis or allies? Is Spain going to be part of the Axis or allies? Who are the Germans going to join? Who are the Finnish going to join? Like, who is going to go where? Who's India going to join? India has 3 billion people, or some crazy number like that.
yeah. I'd love
if-
to see them.
If they instate
I can see it now. They're all getting on a big cargo plane to come over and drop troops, and it's just like the videos you see of them all riding the train and the buses, and and the videos you see online of their
the sardined
traffic.
in.
They got like literally like 10,000 people hanging on to the airplane wings, trying to sit on it while it flies, and you just see them all flying off like, you know,
like they did in Afghanistan when the U.S. left.
only at high altitude. You just, you know, flying off of it. Sorry, that was more of a parody, but that's what goes through my head whenever I think of India sending people anywhere.
I just couldn't imagine them inciting a draft, and they're like, "All right, draft time, and now we have an extra 1 billion soldiers." Oh shit, that's a problem. But
Yeah, you know, and another thing that's not being talked about on the world stage, I wrote this down because this was in the shifting power dynamics section I had, and it was basically, you know, kind of like under the NATO, like I had a whole thing I had for like NATO's role and challenges, right? So Turkey is a good one, in my opinion, because it's not being talked about on public media, at least none that I've really seen, where, you know, like Turkey is a key NATO member,
Yeah.
right? But they're also pursuing their own regional ambitions right now, currently, especially in Syria and Libya. And, you know, the alliances, the alliance cohesion basically has been, it's severely being questioned.
I mean, NATO
Right.
is pretty much obsolete these days.
Yeah.
Especially with the BRICS that's in place, the Brazilian, Russia, India, China, South African nations
Mm-hmm.
that are in in talks and trade routes together. They're not even in NATO. NATO is old news these days.
Yeah.
If BRICS becomes the new superpower,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the world would look like after that.
I don't know.
We wouldn't have Evian water.
I don't know. But I can tell you that, you know, just on the Turkey side of things that I was going into is like, you know, that alliance is like I've said, like the cohesion there is heavily questioned, right? But at the same time, smaller European like basic like nations like the Baltics are pushing for more aggressive stances against Russia.
Yes,
too.
they are.
And then like fearing, basically putting out this whole like fearing they could be next in Moscow's expansions plans. Expand, or you know what I mean?
Global
Like,
expansion.
Global expansion.
Yeah.
That plan that they have, if they're a part of it, right? Like they're fearing about that, and for good right.
Yeah, but
In a way.
that goes back to what I said, right? Escalation risk. If they
Mhm.
successfully completely wipe out Ukraine, which signs are pointing that they will, unless there are other countries that intervene.
Mhm.
So once that's done, where are they going to go next? The Baltics. They're going to go to Turkey, India. They're going to go to Italy, Albania. They're going to keep pushing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
I'm gonna end my whole World War III dive in of the current standings.
All right, on to
We'll just-
surfing.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna end it on my side, but this is like basically what I deduce would be like the potential spark
Gotcha.
for a World War III.
Well, let's talk about that after a brief intermission for a
Yep.
bathroom break, huh?
Intermission time it is. We'll be right
Don't
back.
go anywhere. We will be right back. It's just a quick 2-minute pee break.
Yep, quick 2-minute pee break. We'll be right back, my fellow serfs.
I hear you do some pretty good animal impersonations.
Brace yourself, everyone.
Honestly, I think we should just trust our president in every decision that he makes, and we should just support that, you know, and be faithful.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Biden's husband.
At night, I be flying. I believe I can fly. I am a unicorn. You are a unicorn. We are unicorns. Do you know how powerful you are?
But I just want to thank everybody, the first responders. On behalf of myself, our Vice President, Melania really wanted to be with us. It's really touched her heart what's gone on. And we've seen the devastation. Melania really wanted to be with us. It's really touched her heart what's gone on. And we've seen the devastation.
Budapest is the capital of what European country? Budapest is the capital of what European country Nathan has already locked in?
I thought Europe was a country. Budapest? I never even heard of that. Like, I want to say, is France a country? I don't know what I'm doing. Copy.
You had to guess. Do you have a guess?
I don't think France is a country, but I would have said that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to say France. I don't know.
Okay. France is a country. I will tell you that.
I guarantee you someone's Googling right now.
The moon
I
is
knew
such
it was
a
not
planet.
a planet.
I can't even
stand it.
stand
The moon is not a planet.
What else is it if it's not a planet?
It is not. I believe it's a star or something.
It's
it is not a
moon. It's a moon.
Didn't you do?
Hey everyone, we are back. Yeah, nice little pee break in there for everybody. But you know, where we left off is just to kind of wrap up the World War III kind of concept tensions with current standings and things. You know, I was going to just basically kind of say what I think may be what would spark a World War III kind of push, like even more so, and kind of push it over that threshold. And none of this, what I'm going to lay out, it's not like a guarantee. This is just for me researching, right? And just trying to find the truth in things, like what's actually real and what's really happening. So it's like the first one, I feel like is a no-brainer. It's a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia, and you know, in the Eastern Europe, you know, in Eastern Europe, you know, like this would drag us, you know, the U.S. and its allies into a wider war, which potentially would become a world war, you know, at that regard. So I feel like that's more of the realistic, you know, from what I was seeing and what I've researched. The next is like kind of like the Chinese invasion of Taiwan. You know, if that were to happen, that would push things way farther.
Yeah.
And then, you know, basically on, you know, like if it is real, I know we didn't really touch on the Middle East aspect of tensions, but you know what? I didn't really touch on that for a reason. It's because they've been fighting for thousands and thousands of years over some really stupid crap. So that's never changed. It's never once changed.
It's never going to change.
It's never going to change either. Not at least in the foreseeable near future by any means. But it's just like, you know, if there's like a strike from Israel on, you know, basically on Iran, you know, that could potentially trigger a broader conflict in the, you know, with the Middle East, you know, potentially. Maybe like Russian and Chinese involvement, because they do have ties and talks with them as well. So, you know, that's another thing I just kind of jotted down. So basically my, you know, in conclusion of everything with that, you know, basically there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, who knows what's really going to happen with it, you know? I feel like we're at higher risk of unintended escalation than anything else. And when I say unintended, I'm not saying that people aren't seeking out to cause a problem and it's just by happenstance. No, I think there's a lot of intention going on everywhere. But I think that there are certain people who are trying to do right by their own country potentially, of what's best for their country, which inadvertently would push conflicts even steeper, and change how the global landscape's going to go.
Yeah. So should we talk about the economic turning points of a third World War? What are these signs and what are
economic implications of a World War III?
So hyperinflation, which we are in the midst of, is a predominant sign that powers need to change and a war is imminent because everybody will be out of jobs across the world. There will be no money being passed around the world. There are a lot of issues in that because if Americans stop spending money, there's no money coming into the government, which they can't pass around the world for support to other societies and other
and basically
individuals.
all basically the surmise everything you were just saying is basically if a World War III were to take place on the economic side of things would be completely catastrophic, and it would affect like virtually every single aspect of life for everyone.
No, not even. That's not at all what I'm saying.
I'm saying that's a part of it. I'm saying
hyperinflation is a key factor to a world war. It has happened during World War I, World War II. The hyperinflation of the American dollar or somebody else's dollar usually causes them to be desperate to go do something fucking rash.
Yeah.
There I go cursing again. Another issue would be the global supply chain collapse. So if a serious strike were to happen, immediately there would be problems. Consider if China decides that they're going to put all their forces into attacking Taiwan or protecting their borders from something else. We're not going to be getting your Apple smartphones. We're not going to be getting devices, clothes, food that's sent over from China because they're going to be trying to take care of themselves, right? We're not going to be getting a lot of supplies, car parts, a lot of things.
Yeah, well, that goes into like the supply chain breakdown.
Absolutely,
right?
That's the collapse of it, right?
Yeah, and supply chains overall are fragile if people don't know.
Oh my God,
they're wildly
it happened
fragile.
during COVID, right? Do you remember?
Yeah, yep. Oh, well, you just said the magic word. We're gonna get flagged.
Do you remember whenever that barge got stuck sideways in that strait?
Yes.
And it was a multi-billion-dollar or trillion-dollar mistake that pretty much stopped all supplies being directed to America.
A World War III would make what happened during the pandemic, these random moments of trade issues,
look like a blink.
Oh, it would look like nothing. It would look like just a little piece of dirt on the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
Yes. If there was a World War III, it would impact us so heavily on the the supply chain itself and how catastrophic it would be that it would be it's not even comparable.
And America has never had a war, like a catastrophic war on its grounds, in its country. I know we've had the Civil War,
we've had the
American War, and Spanish
Revolution,
but we've never had a modern war where bombs are sent strategically to destroy
Red Dawn type situation.
Exactly,
we haven't had a Red Dawn here.
To destroy highways and roads and power plants and oil infrastructures. What would probably happen is they would send over missiles.
If there was a Red Dawn type situation, and that would be something that could potentially happen out of this type of setup, you better hope that the Second Amendment is still 100% intact how it should be, because you're going to need it at that point. You better hope that that's it. Honestly, that is one of the reasons, if you listen to, there's been people in history over the past 70, 80 years who have talked about like a Red Dawn type situation, right? Like if it were to ever happen here. One of the biggest deterrent for other countries of them putting boots on the ground here is the fact that Americans have guns, lots of guns.
That's right.
That is one of the biggest deterring factors for foreign entities of putting boots on the ground. And that's not a joke. That they've openly, that has been discussed in history numerous times. So you better hope that that is intact. And I'm not saying, and that's all I'm going to touch on the Second Amendment about, but that you better hope that that is intact if something like that were to happen. because you're going to want some way to defend yourself, because you're not going to be able to depend on your government or your local police force.
Of course not. They're gonna the police first and foremost are gonna go take care of their families.
Oh yeah.
The government's gonna be taking care of
It'll
the
be 100%
soldiers
lawless
and attempting to pass out food and trying to make sanctioned cities, if you will.
That's if they do.
That's
if they do.
Oh yeah, that's a big if, right? They'd be probably trying to fight and send over soldiers, or if they don't just bomb all of the bases in America, right? There's so many different strategies that could happen that are so difficult to prepare for. It's agonizing to think about, truly.
Yeah.
But a basic breakdown of something that could happen that could destroy our ecosystem in America and really send us into a spiral is a power grid failure. So if a war happens and a World War III incident sort of begin. If an EMP blast goes over across of America, or they hit and target every water source, power plant, things of this nature, it would be absolutely devastating.
And I know we talked about supply chains, but there's a whole other area of this, and that's the financial markets. So, like, for instance, like stock markets would
God.
literally immediately severely crash into nothingness.
It would disappear overnight.
It would disappear overnight. Investors would pull out all of any type of assets they could. Everything would, and then potentially seek out safer options. But they may not even seek out safer options, because if something of like a true World War III were to happen, they wouldn't even invest in the safer options. I would bet money. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a stock market expert, but I believe, just from what I've read and kind of try to stay informed on, I don't think they would even reinvest it. They would try to hold it, personally.
Yeah.
Whatever they could.
Of course they would. They would take it into their bunkers.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you bring in that aspect, the value of global financial assets would literally plummet. Of global assets would plummet. And then that would erase trillions of dollars in wealth overnight. Just let that sink in. Trillions of dollars overnight.
It would devalue our currency too.
Oh yeah, dude, we would be in such a horrible place as citizens, and like in our just what we all deal with day to day. We would all be in such a horrible standing. Like,
companies would be shut down.
I know some people. I've read some wild crap online of people hoping for a World War III.
I know, me too.
American citizens. I'm like, you better hope it doesn't happen, man.
Yeah.
You better hope. Like, why would you hope for something like that? One, war is ultimately, at the end of the day, is bad. Is it necessary sometimes? Yes, and that's an irrefutable fact. I'm not saying like, oh, you should be pro-war. No, by any means. Like, try to avoid it at all costs. But sometimes war is essential. You can't get away from it.
It's a necessary evil, right?
Yeah, and that's a horrible thing to have to to say that. And I hate the fact that that is the truth, but it is the truth. Sometimes you just got to accept it for what it is. And anyways, I'm gonna keep moving forward before I get stuck in that
narrative, huh?
Yeah, the ever-ending loop. But what was it? Sorry, I was saying they raised trillions of dollars overnight. The loss of investors and like just the confidence of that aspect would literally cause, how do I word it, bond markets to collapse as governments increase borrowing finances for war efforts.
Oh yeah, they'd be printing money,
which would lead to skyrocketing interest rates.
Yeah, our inflation that we think is bad right now in the year of our Lord 2024 would absolutely erupt.
Because we're what? How many $1 trillion in debt was it again?
I think it's like 5.
No. We're far more than that. We're like 20-something $trillion, or was it 50-something $50 trillion in debt or something like that? Like that. I don't even remember what the exact number was. If you can fact check me on it. Yeah, fact check me on it. But we're trillions of dollars in debt already.
34 trillion dollars in debt.
Okay, so with 33, you said 33?
33.9. So
Okay,
34.
okay. So basically $34, dude. Only 34.
Yo, I can afford that, dog. What are we doing?
Oh my god. Yeah. So we're basically $34 trillion in debt right now. So if you can imagine the skyrocketing interest, one, that 34 trillion would jump up first of all.
Imagine
immensely.
Imagine your home insurance. Let's say it's like $2,000 right now. If we go into war, your insurance immediately doubles or triples or even quadruples. So you'll be paying $7,000 to $8,000 in home insurance alone. Not to mention your taxes, not to mention utilities. You would probably never have water again. You'd probably never have gas or electricity. So you would then probably take to going into the streets, just like everybody else. And then there'd be conflict between the individuals, which is what war usually incites. People don't go together when they're hungry. They usually fight amongst each other for food and water and resources.
Yeah.
So the fear of a World War III being a nuclear holocaust isn't my fear.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of a nuclear fallout. I'm scared of
I think there's a chance of it.
the devastation of an infrastructure collapse. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Because if we have Billy Joe Bob down the road who's had a water source and a well backup preparing for this, everybody knows about Bobby Joe's water well. They're going to all be going to him for water, and he's not going to want to share it, and he's going to start shooting, and people are going to start shooting back. It's going to be a fallout of society.
Yeah, and I wanted to really bring the point home about the interest rates, because we were basically 34 trillion in debt. That debt will skyrocket even more so.
It'll hit the quadrillion.
I don't even know what number it would be, but I can tell you right now, just knowing about the interest rates, I guarantee there would be skyrocket of interest rates to a point no one has ever seen and never even anticipated that number to be. I'm talking about American people. I'm sure they got some people in some type of little think tank somewhere, basically going like, oh, well, we're calculating these numbers. They calculate that crap, but they don't share it with people. They're doing it inside of a war room while they're trying to calculate what strategical movements they should make and what implications they make. So I'm sure someone's dialing up some number somewhere, but just like a key impacts of things, like, so the financial markets in the US, Europe, Asia would face obviously basically a massive sell-off. And then while, basically like central banks would probably struggle to try to stabilize they would try to stabilize their economies. The central banks would, but they would fail very quickly. We already know that would happen.
Oh, all of the banks would take your money that you have in there and use it toward the government infrastructure.
Yeah, and you already brought up the whole hyperinflation aspect.
Oh my god, that's my biggest red flag.
Yeah, and that could take a hold on governments as governments attempt to print money,
which they
to
have
basically
been
cover
doing.
war expenses, basically, and then that would further destabilize, currencies, financial systems, all that crap.
Yeah.
So Anyways, I just wanted to make sure to get through that because that had to do with the financial markets because that's what I was on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the economic downfall would be that hyperinflation hits us and nobody can pay back their loans. Nobody can afford their mortgages. So people are going into debt, and then the bank is printing more money to then pay for things. And the the Federal Reserve is creating more income and more money to put into circulation, which then devaluates it more. And the more it gets devaluated, the more it's necessity to go to war to then create a new type of income.
Yep.
It's a backwards plan, but that's what has been going on since the dawn of time.
Oh yeah, and and you were talking about the hyperinflation. I have some things on that too, and like the government debt and finances side of things. Any government involved in a World War III situation, right, would face a massive increase in defense, obviously defense spending.
Yeah, all of their money would go into it.
Which then diverts resources from, more than likely diverting resources from sources, sections like healthcare, education,
supplies, food,
and infrastructure within side of things that are interconnected with that.
Yeah.
And basically is
people on EBT and welfare would be turned off immediately.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. Like you bring in the case studies.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if you saw any of the case studies in your research, but some of the case studies I was doing, was like historical type examples. So you have like World War I and World War II, and like just Germany. Like take Germany for example during the aftermath of World War I. That right there shows how excessive money printing led to hyperinflation for them. It was wild. They never recovered because then World War II happened. And, Adolf Hitler, all that fun jazz, and he created even far more worse things because that's what birthed Adolf Hitler because everyone was in such a bad place. And he came in, doing his whole thing where he yelled all the time. And, and then got people to rally behind it because everybody was so desperate at that time. They just saw someone who was being strong at a time of a low point for everyone, morally, the works. And so people rallied behind him, whether or not, regardless if they supported what he said 100%. They rallied behind him because they were trying to think of themselves and their families and their local people. So
is that what Trump is doing?
No, it's not. I'm not even going to put that stupid fucking narrative out there because it's going to misconstrue cunts on the internet. And now you got me cussing
We
on
have
a live
hyperinflation
stream.
in America, and he's talking about trying to fix that, and he's not scared of it.
Yeah, he shouldn't be scared
and
of
he's
it.
yelling about
because
it.
he's the only one who was actually fucking making shit.
Here we go,
right
you cursing
before.
again.
I don't care. Yeah, because people take what you just said and they'll take it and contort it, and they'll be like, "Oh, I heard this," and blah blah blah, and people already have a problem with Trump, or chunks of people do, and the people who have a problem with him are fucking idiots. Half of them are. I'm not saying Trump's perfect by any means, but half of them are idiots.
Well,
they're too busy worrying about putting a uterus into a biological man's body
than
they are anything else. So don't really give a shit about them. Then it's your problem. See, you got me all off trails. Way to go.
That was my ultimate decision.
No,
that was
now
my
we're
plan
gonna
all
get
along.
It's gonna make me look like I hate people.
Make it look like you hate people?
I don't hate people. I love people.
But if we were to go into a World War III, anybody would be incited into combat, right? So the draft would come into play. That new act that I mentioned at the start of the show is not a draft. It is preparation for a potential draft, an automatic registration into the armed forces. So if we were to go into a combat scenario where it was determined that we needed a support of a lot of troops, the Congress or the House of Representatives would enforce the draft. And anybody 18 to 25 would have to go, whether they supported the war or not. And I know that a lot of people nowadays, especially most veterans, despise our government for a lot of good reasons. The implications of a mandatory automatic registration for a draft pisses a lot of people off. Because how dare you decide for me that I'm going to sign up for this? What if I'm willing to take that felony? What if I'm willing to then move out of America? But unfortunately, the second you turn 18 in America, they send you a notice in the mail saying, "Thank you for signing up for the draft."
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining the armed forces and registering for it.
Yeah.
Which they twist saying that it makes it easier for the military and the government officials to then find your paperwork whenever you decide to voluntarily draft or voluntarily sign up. They're like, oh, it makes it easier for us to find you because you're already registered.
Yeah. Hey, I want to shift gears and jump back to the supply chain breakdown.
Yeah, please.
Because I totally forgot to mention a couple of things because I was scrolling down and I found my actual report on it. Instead of my little excerpt key highlights. But have you heard of the JIT manufacturing?
I have not.
Which
no.
means just in time.
I have not.
So this is actually something that a lot of industries have in place, particularly automotive, electronics, and retail sectors. So
JIT?
Just in time, just dash in dash time manufacturing. So all of these sectors rely
It's
on
in Texas, baby. That's Maybank, Texas.
Yeah, they rely on JIT systems where parts and materials are delivered just before they are needed in the manufacturing process. So this approach would minimize basically the storage costs, but makes companies highly dependent on smooth, uninterrupted supply chains. So basically, it would then shift from external supply chains, and they try to fix it by boosting up this backup plan they have where it's all internal with inside of our borders, right, of getting those supplies, because they try to keep storage of it, and then also facilities that will create it on a whim here locally, in your local country, which is us right now is what I'm referring to. So they all rely on it, a war would disrupt the availability of a lot of these components. A World War III would, because those facilities would then get used to send it over in war efforts instead of locally here.
It just blows my mind that people are promoting and wanting the World War III to happen. Like it's asinine to me.
Things are already bad enough.
Why make it worse?
Yeah,
Worst.
Worsted.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce. I love Worcestershire sauce.
Oh yeah, it's good on steak, baby.
Oh hell yeah, dude! It's good on a lot of things. It's good on burgers too.
It's good in
delicious.
Bloody Marys.
What?
So you put a little Worcestershire.
Oh, I don't
in your
drink Bloody
Marys?
Marys. I'm not a douche.
What are you, gay?
No, I drink beer and whiskey.
Yeah, you're gay.
I'm a man. But one of the thing is that kind of like a key impact, I guess, would be basically manufacturing plants that are not directly involved in the conflict would still face lots of stoppages and production issues, basically because of missing parts or materials. Like, because they wouldn't have it anymore.
Yeah, of course.
They would have no way of getting it.
Do you remember during
yeah.
the pandemic, whenever nobody could get their vehicles fixed or nobody could get toilet paper?
Yeah, a lot of that was due to local citizens being dumb.
Imagine that on a long-term effect. You couldn't go get beans. You couldn't
multiplied to the millionth power.
You couldn't get fertilizer to grow crops anymore. You couldn't. There are so many devastating implications in this that is so damning to take effect in this World War III scenario. Not to mention all the new technology that would come from it. I mean, there are good that would come from it, right? We would get new technology. We would get new infrastructure put in place. Power changes would happen. Perhaps we would end up winning, and no longer would there be communist states, and there would just be nothing but good around the world. But the rebuilding efforts would be up to, I don't even know, 50 plus years to rebuild cities and civilizations.
And that's not, we're not taking into account on the financial side as well is price controls.
It would take a generation, right?
Well, have you heard about the price controls and rationing?
Oh, yeah.
These are real things that are already in place.
President-elect Harris is trying to do that.
Yeah, that's a very bad thing.
Yes, it is. They're trying to price control your food.
Because the price control, and this is all in like a response narrative. The narrative of where I'm coming from is a response to a global World War III, right? That's where I'm coming from with this. Don't get me wrong, the stuff that Harris has spewed out, it's a crock of crap. She's just trying to mimic other people's stuff and then try to spin it. Harris is a liar.
Yeah.
She's been proven to be a liar numerous times. Anyone who's trying to support her, you really need to go do
lost in the
research.
sauce.
You're lost in the sauce, bro. Or broette.
Human
being, person. But, basically with the price controls and rationing and crap like that, that is basically, long story short, the price control that would be imposed would be at a very high rate. It could never go past a certain amount, supposedly, but it never can drop below that amount
Correct.
either. So, for instance, let's use on a very
We
light,
talked about it before, right?
We kind of. This is a different kind of thing. It's not like the
milk analogy.
Yeah, I'm going to use the milk analogy again, but based under this narrative, right?
Okay.
So imagine a gallon of milk is $6 right now, or $5, whatever it is currently, right? Let's say it's $5. I don't even remember how much a gallon of milk is currently. So let's just say $5. This price control, because you have to remember they're calculating for interest, spike in what the value of the dollar's worth, things like that. Just a gallon of milk would probably be $9 to $10 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much it would cost for a gallon of milk. We're talking about great value, 2%, not the real milk where it's whole milk. We're talking about water, just trying to pretend to be milk. Gallon of milk. It would be like $9 to $10 a gallon. Can you imagine what every other piece of food would be cost? Like, for instance, a loaf of bread right now. Like a great value at Walmart, loaf of bread. For the honey wheat loaf of bread is $1.24 currently. That's what it was a couple weeks ago. It used to be, what was it, 78 cents for that same loaf of bread. It is now almost $1.60. Almost $1 increase. Can you imagine? That's going to be $3 or $4, maybe $5 for that loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to talk about how people are upset about when they go to the store and they spend $400, they walk away with half a grocery cart. You're going to go and spend $400 and you're going to have like 8 items.
Yeah.
You imagine how much meat will cost? Look at how much it already costs for a 3-pound thing of meat, which is like almost 15 to 16 bucks for 3 pounds of great value Walmart meat is 15 to 16 bucks. And that's it being 70% lean, 30% fat. So it's the lower quality ground beef. That would be every bit of $30. I guarantee it.
Like they'll be pushing lab-grown meat as well.
Yeah. And that's already in play.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the meat you're buying in store did come from a lab at this point.
Have you seen the meat glue they use?
No.
It's a synthetic material that they use to put together scrap meat that looks like fat, but works like glue to make it look like a steak. But once you cook it, it falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrifically looking.
That's disgusting.
It's gross. It's so gross looking.
Yeah, so
there's not really much else I have to say about this other than
I have a bunch of shit.
Oh yeah?
Oh, I told you I pulled shit up. I had shit. It was part of my World War III stuff. I had the financial side of things in there.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I didn't other than the assault breaker, because I pulled up that information when you told me about it for the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that'll be a useful strategy to deter any.
But like I didn't have a report on like the draft, stuff that I was going to let you kind of handle that side of things. But I covered everything that I thought would be under the World War III potential and guys. But yeah, I have a bunch more. Like I even have a whole section on long-term kind of like consequences on the economic side of World War III.
Me too.
I have I know I was talking about government response, but like I had a couple more sections in there talking about currency reforms or potential currency reforms, and then like kind of like the what was it? It's like measures of austerity measures and international aid, type, how that plays into it as well. Basically, and then I even had a section like of widespread poverty. And then like kind of like what about the rebuilding of the supply chains?
That would
cost in the aftermath,
insane amount of money.
Yeah, and luckily I had a good chunk of this information from a previous time that we were going to do an episode on this, but we ended up not. So that was in my favor because I had already, had some of my research done, so it made my life way easier. But yeah, dude, like I've got a few different ones, and I'm not gonna like sit here and go through every little nitty gritty detail. We're basically out of time, and we're gonna be wrapping up here any minute. But I just wanted to at least say the keys.
Please, yeah, go right ahead, do it.
Because I feel like it's very important to talk about. So, for instance, like the impact of like price controls, right? While price controls and rationing, may temporarily kind of like alleviate it being able to inflate more. Ultimately, that would fail. It would. There's nothing but evidence to support it would fail, mainly because we have people who make horrible decisions in our current office, and I don't think any person you had in that office would make a difference if this narrative played out. I don't think it's going to change. I think it would, no matter what, it's going to be atrocious. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be wildly impactful and just a huge negative way on us.
We do not want this to happen.
Yeah, and then you take that, there's that aspect, right? And then it's going to lead to shortages, more market disruptions. Even if those markets were rebuilt to some degree, it's going to break those away again, crush them back down. Basically, like the black market, right? That people talk about so suspiciously all the time. Like the black market could become the more dominant means of acquiring goods, pretty much. That would be the most relevant, where things are more cost effective. And so it's like people are going to be digging into that. I'm not saying everyday Joes, because not everyday Joe has the ability to even like get access to the black market, you could say. But people who do use it would be doing much better than everyone else. So there's that. And then like currency reforms, basically they're, a country's currency would 100% become worthless. And, a lot of that's due to hyperinflation. And maybe some government would attempt to introduce a new currency. What's been talked about recently that they're going to introduce. And then I've already said it. I know they're going to take it away.
Yep.
It's to get full control, because they're going to introduce a new currency, which would be digital, get everyone to assimilate to that new currency, and then they're going to take it the fuck away.
That's what happened during the Brentwood conference.
They're going to take it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to go, oh, we're going to go back to our other system that we were using before, where it's tangible currency, like fully physical tangible currency. And then all of a sudden you're not going to have any because they took it all away because you switched to a digital. Congratulations. You just screwed yourself. So there's that. And then, the thing is that, like, I'm just going to move on. So basically, let's talk about austerity kind of measures and international aid. So basically, austerity measures, while they probably would be intended to reduce inflation, or like some type of like pressure of inflation, often it's more than likely going to lead to social untrust amongst like citizens. Yeah. And then there will be protests, things like that, and then there's gonna be like cuts. More than likely, I would be surprised if there's cuts to like vital kind of like sectors and sources that every person needs across the board, like health. We already mentioned earlier, like healthcare, education, and then basically there would be a massive demand for assistance, but the problem is there would be no way to give assistance. Everything's gone. Everything's been resourced somewhere else because of the wartime that's going on. If
it's going to go to the troops,
or maybe other countries again.
Yep.
Right. Which is a bunch of horse shit. But anyways, moving on. This last thing I'm going to say. This has to do with like kind of like a long-term economic consequence of World War III. There would be some form of like global economic realignment that would be attempted down the road. And that right there would be somehow people would pop up unscathed, right? And which makes no sense. Like, how could they have popped up unscathed? And then that really brings into the other side of it, where it's like, maybe it's because they were choosing to be neutral, some form of neutral presence, or they were playing both sides. And that's something that's very realistic for like a long-term consequence between countries, is that you would see some countries pop up as if there's nothing wrong and they were fine. And it's because they were playing both sides. They were being dirty. And which at the same time, wouldn't you really call that being smart?
Save your own skin, right?
Yeah. And so it's really weird. And Anyways,
I don't
there
know.
would be widespread poverty. We know that. And then rebuilding supply chains itself would be such a difficult long-term process. And there would be no alleviation of any kind of economic strife for a very long time. And we would be in an economic strife that is so bad that I think a lot of people would have died off already at that point, because people would lose their homes. They'd have no way. You think we're going to get the same relief during the pandemic that people that they threw out there? It's like, you don't have to pay your rent. Bull crap. I guarantee you they're not going to impose
Yeah, they're
any of
going to
that.
want your money more.
There
than
is a
ever.
lot of evidence. A lot of things have come alight since the pandemic where when they did the whole alleviation having to pay debt, that was intentional target on the real estate done by BlackRock
and Vanguard.
That was intentionally done.
Yep.
Because they want to be able to swoop in and buy companies.
And whole.
I don't know if anyone was aware of that, but that's literally why it happened. Because BlackRock, it's literally public knowledge now. There's paper trails of it. They did it intentionally, and what did they do? They went and bought those companies, and all of a sudden they brought it back up.
Yep. And they do it to residential homes as well. They're buying up entire neighborhoods and suburbs, and then renting out the homes back to the citizens. It's the implications of World War III are devastating on many levels. Not necessarily poverty alone, not necessarily infrastructure collapse alone, but economic devastation for a long time. It'll be a generational problem.
Yep. And for anyone tuning in this late in the game, we are actually about to end. But if you want to watch the whole thing, it will be available this Thursday. You missed your
It'll be
window.
next Thursday, right?
Oh, yeah. It'll be next Thursday. So not this Thursday, but next. It will release as a full episode. So if you missed this window, that's just how the cookie crumbled. We do the lives, but if you're not here for the lives when we're doing it live, well,
sorry about you.
Sorry about you. But we would like you to watch the episode. We'll have this probably up for roughly another 30 minutes after we end, so you can get a little teaser if you want of everything we've talked about prior. Everything from Assault Breaker 2 to the tensions in all the other countries and back and forth of things going on. We've covered a lot of different things, so everything from that to economic to personal interactions, things of that nature. So but yeah, we are pretty much wrapped up here, and I feel like we already kind of covered our final thoughts on things as we did each thing. But I can tell you right now, just right off the get-go, for anyone who hopes that there's a World War III, because I've been coming across that type of content, you better hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea. It's like these, when you, I knew quite a few kids growing up that were just lived in this fantasy world in their head where they watch too many fucking movies. And they're like, oh, I can't wait for this and that. And it's like, dude, that's fantasy. You have no idea the real world implications of living that. Like you're watching from the comfort of a couch, eating some popcorn, bundled up in a blanket with a cup of hot cocoa. Like, what are you? You are a delusional bastard. Like, so anyone who thinks that World War III is a good thing or something of that level, you are insane.
And I want to say one more thing before we finally sign off and say bye.
Yeah.
I know living in America or a first world country, you may see the immediate issues in your own country. You need to be grateful that you're in one of these countries. The poverty and the absolute devastation of the rest of the world is insurmountable to the luxuries we have here. You can go buy food anytime you want. You can go get gas anytime you want. You can go see your family. A lot of these countries and civilizations don't have education to where they can learn and do things. There's 85% of the world is in extreme poverty. You need to be counting your blessings and being very thankful that you have a house and that you have things, and maybe you rent. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're struggling, but you need to be very thankful that you're in America or again, a first world country, because it could be way worse.
Yeah, it could be far worse. So with that being said, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Farewell, everybody. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining us and listening to us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. And send us an email, smartlyuneducated@gmail.com. It is a real email, and we will read your comments and your emails online, on live broadcasts. So feel free to reach out to us any way, any shape, any format. Force your friends, your family, your grandma, your dog to listen to us. Sneak into your friends and family's phones and subscribe on their devices for them so that they have to listen to us.
Yep. And with that being said, I just want to say that, welcome to the uneducated, the smartly uneducated. Oh my goodness. It is happening right now as we know it. Everyone is the thingies and everything, but that's all we got. So
hasta la vista,
baby.